Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're still carrying on looking at Theros, and we're going to move on to look at Devotion to Darkness, which is a black and blue deck. Let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 20 creatures, 6 instants, 6 sorceries, 2 artifacts, 1 enchantment and 25 land. We've got a mana curve there. Let's dive in and start looking at the cards. So the foil face rare is Abhorrent Overlord, so 5 and 2 black for a 6/6 with flying. So when Abhorrent Overlord enters the battlefield, put a number of 1/1 black harpy creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield where equal to your devotion to black. So Theros introduced another mechanic. Theros introduced was devotion, and I think it's the one that maybe stands out the most, mostly because of stuff like Master of Waves. The next card I'm going to talk about, like Thassa's Oracle, like stuff like that. Like a lot of sort of like fairly notorious / famous cards from sort of Theros blocks have had devotion and used devotion. So devotion basically means you just count up every mana symbol of that color in the cost of permanents you control, and that is your devotion to that color. And it's a really just like fun, simple, straightforward mechanic that has like, it's very easy to understand. It has very obvious build around options, I think. So, Abhorrent Overlord, at the very minimum, makes 2 tokens when it comes in, because it's got 2 black mana symbols in its mana cost. More likely, it will make more, which is fine because it's a 6/6 flyer for 7, which is okay. Makes extra stuff. At the beginning of your upkeep, you do have to sacrifice a creature. That's fine. It's making a bunch of tokens which you can just sacrifice anyway. Or you can sacrifice one of your smaller creatures, and then you've got a bunch of stuff in the air. So I think this is like a pretty good foil face rare that shows off the new devotion mechanic like quite well, I think. And then we have 2 grey Merchant of Asphodel, Gary himself. So 3 and 2 black for a 2/4. When Gary enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So when Theros preview season was happening, like way back in the day, I saw Gary, and you know what, I dismissed it. I was just like, that's okay, I suppose. Little did I know that Gary was gonna go on to like be super good. Because at the very minimum, it's 5 mana for a 2/4. That drains your opponent for 2 life and gains you 2 life. That is the absolute bare minimum of what Gary does, but obviously can do much more. And the fact the deck comes 2 of them, and it comes with Whip of Erebos, which was the whole kind of combo at the time, just essentially permanently recycling Garys. Yeah, super good. Really good inclusion in here to have 2 of them. As I say, it has the old kind of like mass life drain wording, which we wouldn't get these days, where it drains everyone. You gain life equal to the sum rather than what I'm saying is, like, these days it would be each opponent loses X life, where X your devotion to black, you gain X life. You wouldn't gain life equal to the life because it scales up so much. I actually had this interaction, like one of the last few times I was at the local game store, where like a newish player, because I think this was reprinted in the most recent Theros, like Beyond Death, and he cast and just like, whoa, I gained so much life, and just like, yep, that's how the life drain effects used to be in this sort of period of the game, because he's a younger player, he's only sort of about maybe 18, 19, he hadn't sort of seen maybe this card originally before, and just like, whoa, you gained so much life, like, yep, that's that's how it used to be, that's why it was kind of bonkers. So that was nice. But yeah, Gary's great. I would hasten to add one of the best cards in the deck, honestly. And then we have 2 Disciple of Phenax, who I don't have as much to say about. So 2 and 2 black, which is that's important that it has double black in the mana cost, because that helps towards your devotion. It's 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, type player reveals a number of cards from their hand equal to your devotion to black. You choose one of them. That player discards their card. So again, at the very minimum, it's going to come in. They're going to reveal 2 cards from their hand, and you choose one of them. It's an effect that scales up, obviously. It's not as impressive as Gary, because it doesn't really win you the game, I suppose. But it's okay. It's okay. At the very least, you got it down, and it's giving you double black, I suppose. But it still feels very expensive for this effect. I suppose it is common, but comparing it to Gary, it just feels very unfair. It's all right. Two Mogus's Marauder. So 2 and a black for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, up to X target creatures each gain Intimidate and Haste until end turn, where X is your devotion to black. So again, at the very minimum, it can do itself. So this is what 3 mana for a 2/2 with Intimidate and Haste, which is not awful. I say that is the absolute bare minimum. The fact this could spread out, give some more of your creatures Intimidate, give them a bit of evasion, is perfectly fine. So yeah, I think this is okay. It is a shame it only has a single black in its mana cost, but I think there is a point where if you start loading them all up with double coloured pips in their mana cost, it's going to start affecting maybe how easy it is to actually play the deck, because you are still playing 2 colours. But yeah, I think this is okay little card. 2 Blood Toll Harpies, 2 and a black. That's actually it now. That's all the devotion cards. We're moving on to the rest now. So 2 Blood Toll Harpies, 2 and a black for a 2/1 flyer. When it ends the battlefield, each player loses 1 life. Okay, sure. I don't know why this had to be a 2/1. Could have been a 2/2 with that kind of symmetrical downside, but sure, it's fine. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's a 2/1 flyer that does a bit of life drain. Sure, it's fine. 2 Insatiable Harpies, 2 and 2 black. So again, important for the double pip there. 2/2 with flying and lifelink. Sure. 4 mana. Yep. Again, actually reminds me of the Cockatrice, the Deathbringer Cockatrice that was in M14. This is not a fair comparison to Vampire Nighthawk at all. It's more expensive, has fewer keywords, and less toughness. That is not a fair comparison to Vampire Nighthawk. Theros was, I feel like, definitely a bit of a dip in power in terms of where the game's meta was at the time. But yeah, it's okay. It's fine. 2 Returned Phalanx, 1 in the black for a 3/3 defender. You can pay 1 in the blue. It can attack this turn as though it didn't have defender. Yeah, this is fine, I suppose. Fairly chunky-ish, defensive creature for only 2. It's all right, I suppose. Would have really liked to have had double black to help with the devotion, but it's fine. It's fine. I don't think devotion is really it's shown up on a few cards, but I don't think it is really the main strategy of the deck. I think it's just general kind of blue-black control. The devotion is just an extra kind of bonus, I suppose. But yeah, Return Phalanx is all right. Phalanx, whatever. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments how it's actually pronounced. And then we have a single Minotaur Abomination, 4 and double black for a 4/6. Yep. And then 2 Undead Minotaurs, 2 and a black for a 2/3 vanilla. Yep. Okay. A lot of vanilla creatures in Theros. Don't get used to them because we're going to see a lot of them. But yeah, these are both fine. Obviously, they're just very functional, chunky beat sticks. Yep. And then 2 Child Knights, one in the black for a 2/1 lifelink. We've seen Child Knight a million times before. We all know what it does. And then 2 Horizon Scholars, 5 and a blue for a 4/4 with flying. When it ends the battlefield, scry 2. Yep, this is fine. Just have a big chunky creature in the air that gives you a bit of scry. That's kind of okay. Let's talk about a far more interesting card, Whip of Erebos. So this is excellent. This is an excellent card, actually, and if you try and reconstruct this deck, you'll find it to be quite expensive because Whip of Erebos goes for quite a bit of money now. So 2 and 2 black. I really should have picked it up at the time when it was really cheap, but I think it's so expensive now. So 2 and 2 black for a legendary enchantment artifact. That is quite a type line. Creatures you control have lifelink. So just a board wide, all your stuff has lifelink. Is that on its own is pretty good. Without even getting to anything else, that's pretty good. So then you pay 2 and 2 black, tap, and then you basically unearth a creature. As you can only do it at sorcery speed, but you return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. It has haste. You exile it at the beginning of your next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield, you exile it instead. So you basically unearth it, if we're going back to Grixis from Alara. But yeah, this with Gary, you could just not constantly cycle out because it gets exiled. But you know what I mean. You get double use out of Gary, or just any of the creatures with ETB effects. Yeah, super good Whip of Erebos. I went to the Theros pre-release and I played against someone who had opened this, and it was so the second it comes down, honestly, it's just giving everything lifelink is such a huge boost immediately. It immediately puts you on the back foot. And then you've got the reanimation effect as well, just to really twist the knife, really. Yeah, super good card. And also it's got double black as well, so it helps towards devotion as well. Which obviously when you do bring Gary back, then Gary's doing at least 4 then, because you got Whip of Erebos and you got Gary itself. Yeah, super, super good card. Really good inclusion. Probably the best rare, I would say, includes out of all these um, Theros, at least the first set out of the intro decks. Yeah, I think that's probably the best card included, honestly. And then a single Lash of the Whip. So 4 and a black, instant speed, target creature gets -4/-4, -10/10. Super, super expensive. This was kind of a thing I didn't really like about Theros, is that like a lot of the removal was very, very expensive, or very inefficient, honestly. Because yeah, by comparison, you've got like let's say Grasp of Darkness from one of the Scars of Mirrodin sets. Can't remember which one exactly, but that's -4/-4 for like 2 black mana. So this is really a case of just like like the meta at the time, the environment. It was just kind of like a slower set, I suppose. Like it was just a slower, grindier kind of environment at the time. But yeah, this is just so expensive. A single Farrakhan's Cure, 2 black mana to do 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life. Yep, that's fine. And then 2 Sip of Hemlock, so 4 and 2 black. Sorcery speed, destroy target creature, its control loses 2 life. Again, so expensive. And at sorcery speed, just to destroy a creature and do a little bit of life loss, like it's so expensive. Like it does not need to be 6 mana. I mean, I understand why it's 6 mana because of how they design sets, I suppose. Like, oh, we kind of want to slow down the meta, I suppose. I don't know, but so expensive. It reminds me of the one we looked at in Ravnica, the Assassin Strike, which was 6 mana, sorcery speed. Again, destroy a creature and get a very small upside. And again, like you compare it to Murder, which is like half the cost at instant speed. Yeah, it's not, it doesn't feel like a fair comparison, but there it is. Single Boon of Erebos, 1 black mana, target creature gets +2/+0 turn, regenerate it, you lose 2 life. This is okay, I suppose, like a good little buff spell. Sure, not much to say about it. Single March of the Returned, 3 and a black, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Yep, so double Raise Dead, essentially. Yeah, this is okay. Again, sure. Get your Garys back again. Yeah, the fact you're getting 2 creatures back for a single card is all right. And then Rescue from the Underworld. So when Theros came out, this was my favorite card in the set, just in terms of like the artwork, the flavor behind the card, like the narrative behind the card. I don't think it's maybe super good, but like it is. I have some fondness for it. Anyway, Rescue from the Underworld. 4 and a black, instant speed. As an additional cost to cast Rescue from the Underworld, sacrifice a creature. Super flavorful because a creature has to die to go into the underworld to go and rescue your creature. Choose a creature card in your graveyard, return that card and the sacrifice card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next upkeep, exile Rescue from the Underworld. So yeah, it's literally one of your creatures dies to go and bring another one back from death, and it takes a while to do it. Like such a good little like narrative. I love it when a card tells a story. Whether or not this is super efficient, it's not, because it's it's a very kind of slow reanimation effect. Like compare this to say, I know, like Zombify, right, which is just 3 and a black and it just happens straight away. You just get it straight back. Or like Rise from the Grave, again, it just happens straight away. This at least is at instant speed, so you can do it like in response to removal. Like if your creature's going to die, like that's the one that's going to go into the underworld. And you can do it. And it is beginning of your next upkeep, so you can just do it at the end of your opponent's turn and get it ready on your next turn. So yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, I like Rescue from the Underworld a lot. I say just the art and the narrative behind it, I think it's great. Love it. I say love it when a card tells a story like this. And then a single Griptide, 3 and a blue, instant speed. You put a creature on top of its owner's library. Yep, so it's instant speed time ebb. This is fine. Talked about this in the last video, actually. Same with Sea God's Revenge, 5 and a blue, sorcery, bounce up to 3 target creatures, and you scry 1. Yep, talked about this. They got a lot, basically expensive, but like potential like really huge tempo swing. So yeah. It is a shame that it can only actually hit opponents' creatures. You can't do your own, so you can't like do this on, say, like Gary and like just do Gary again. A single Voyage's End, 1 blue, return target creature to owner's hand, scry 1. Yep, it's fine. It's the kind of block, the unsummon with blocks mechanic, which is fine. Yep, all okay. Two Glimpse the Futures, two in the blue, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. This is okay, you've got quite a few ways of getting stuff back from your graveyard, like Rescue from the Underworld, you got the March to the Returned, you got the Whip of Erebos. So this is okay, just to dig for 3, find the one you want, dump the other 2, that's okay. Single Ordeal of Thassa, 1 in a blue, enchanted creature. Enchanted creature, whenever it attacks, gets a +1/+1 counter. Then if it has 3 or more counters on it, you sacrifice Ordeal of Thassa, and when you sacrifice Ordeal of Thassa, you draw 2 cards. Yep, okay, like all these ordeals, I just think it's a very roundabout way of getting quite a small effect, but it is also, just a few +1/+1 counters and a small effect. It's, it's still fine, it's still okay. And then a single Witch's Eye, which is this feels like a really weird inclusion, honestly. So just 1 mana artifact, equips for 1, an equipped creature has 1, tap, scry 1. Yeah, it just feels like a very weird inclusion in the deck. Not really sure why it's here. Not sure, like, really how much purpose it's serving in the deck, if I'm honest. Definitely could have been something else. And then 16 Swamps and 9 Islands. So there we go. So let's talk about maybe what could have been. So no alternate rares. I think the rares in this are absolutely perfect. Don't think you can change those at all. Really here is just like a little extra, I guess, kind of utility, I suppose. This obviously pushes it more towards black, I suppose, but that's fine. So I think Keepsake Gorgon would have been okay here, just because it's like got double black, so it helps with the devotion, I suppose. But it's 2/5 with Death Touch. It has Monstrosity for 1. And when it becomes monstrous, you destroy a non-Gorgon creature, which is very expensive, like 7 mana, but it's fine. Asphodel Wanderer, I was thinking could be okay here. This is kind of like the Theros Drudge Skeletons, essentially. So 1 black mana for a 1/1, and you pay 2 and a black to regenerate it. So it's 1 cheaper to cast than Drudge Skeletons, but its regeneration is like 2 more. But it could have been here. That could have been okay. Just a nice early game stalling creature. And I also thought Read the Bones. So 2 and a black sorcery. You scry 2, then draw 2 cards, then lose 2 life. Again, just help you find the pieces you need, like Gary or the Whip, maybe a bit quicker. That could have been okay. But yeah, generally overall, I think the deck is actually put together like pretty well. Like the removal is obviously very expensive, but it's the best they could sort of do at the time. Same with the bounce effects, honestly. But I think it really does stand quite tall, just because it has the Whip of Erebos, which is like a really, really good card to include, and the 2 Garys, which I think are really good. So I think this would have played sort of okay out of the box. I think it would have been maybe a bit grindy and slow to play, but I think it would have done pretty well, honestly. I think just maybe I'm focusing too much on the Whip of Erebos, but that is such a good card to include in this deck. I say definitely. I think one of the better rares to be in one of these Theros block intro packs, definitely. What are your thoughts after seeing the deck? Did you have this deck? If you got any thoughts or stories or comments or opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it, leave a comment below. Always like reading people's comments. But I'll be back next time to look at another Theros block intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.